Hi, I'm Chris Barber.
I'm Coleman Glenn.
I'm Grant Schnarr.
I'm Andy Dippa.
I'm Scott Frazier.
I'm Ray Silverman.
So, next question is, how do I get to heaven?
Believe in God and live according to God's commandments, and you will get to heaven.
Well, honestly, that's pretty much our answer. So thanks for watching. But we think the particulars are kind of interesting. So if you want more nuance and theology, stick around. We sat down with different Swedenborgian ministers to address the most powerful philosophical and religious questions of all time, ranging from biblical contradictions to romance to the meaning of life. Welcome to Big Spiritual Questions. In this episode, we explore what it takes to get to heaven.
We as people, we're really good at identifying our flaws and the areas where we are scum, or at least think we are. And when we spend time thinking about that, it can make heaven seem like a distant or impossible prospect for us. And I don't think that really honors what heaven actually is.
I think the first thing to note is that heaven is now. Heaven is as much a place we're going to go as a state of mind, and vice versa. So Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. And I think the real, obviously the real essence of what he's saying is that it starts now. It starts now, and are we becoming heavenly people? Or are we becoming hellish people? Because we're going to create our own heaven and our own hell in this world, and that's going to follow us into the next. Very different idea Swedenborg has from traditional Christianity. In traditional, actually, I guess a lot of different religions, there's someone outside of you deciding where you're going to go. Whoop, you haven't done enough good things, you're going to hell. Or, oh, look, you've made the list, you're going to heaven. Or, you believe this? Okay, you can go to heaven. You don't believe it? You're going to go to hell. Swedenborg is completely different. What Swedenborg says is that we actually choose heaven and hell according to what kind of life we've been living. So no one goes to hell for what they believe alone. No one goes to hell for what they do alone. But they go to heaven or hell because of who they are or who they have become.
Anyone can go to heaven. The door to heaven is open. You can walk right in if you want to, but the key is, are you going to like it there? And if you want to like being in heaven, well, that's a different question. And if you want to like being in heaven, well, that takes asking yourself, what kind of person do I want to be to live in that kind of environment where people are acting in service and self-sacrifice towards one another?
If you're not building heaven in your life here, don't worry about whether or not you're going to see it in the hereafter, because you ain't. You have to be building heaven in your life now if you want to see it later. And that's assuming it even exists. I haven't been there. I take it on faith that it exists. And even if it doesn't, I've been in heaven. I've been in heaven here.
If you've ever had a good meal with people you really love, maybe you've made an effort to get there, that's heaven. If you've ever completed a project you believe in and think is worth doing, that's heaven. It's not a destination in that sense. You don't have to wait for it. You get to heaven when you're with people you love doing something worth doing.
I've been in heaven when I'm in community with people who love each other. And I've been in heaven when coming back from a hard time and there are people who still love and care about me. I've been in heaven when I've seen communities rally around those who are hurting. I've been in heaven, and I think a lot of people have, if they really think about it. If they get away from this idea that it's a far off place, and if they start to accept that it starts within, I think that heaven, so often we shortchange it, we cut it off, we take away its power, the power of what it really is, when we try to place it on a map or put it behind a gate. You get to heaven when you live it.
So to become that kind of person, to become a heavenly person, what I think that takes is, takes some work, takes turning to the Lord and asking Him to transform us, and then doing the active work as if we're doing it from ourselves to say, here are the ways where I am sinning against God, and that just means I'm doing things that hurt other people, that get in the way of God's love, of people living in harmony with one another. I'm going to stop doing those things. I'm going to pray to God to change my heart, and trust that as I work on that, He's going to change my heart. So I become the kind of person who, when I get there, I not only can walk into heaven, I'll actually want to be there, get to live in that state of eternal love for other people.
So how do I go to heaven? Well, actually, the way is to turn away from hellish things, to turn away from when I see something that's not heavenly in my heart, to ask God for help and begin a new life, and to allow God to move me towards being a more heavenly and more beautiful and more caring person.
One day a young man came to Jesus and said, "Good master, what should I do to go to heaven?"
Jesus said, "Why do you call me good? There is only one who is good, that is God. But if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments." The rich young ruler said, "Well, which ones? I've kept these from my youth." Jesus said,
"Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, shalt not covet," and so on.
He took him right back to the 10 Commandments. And so the question is, what was the question?
How do I get to heaven?
How do I get to heaven? Believe in God and keep the commandments. Now, the reason for putting those two together is keeping the commandments, you can't do it on your own. You need the power of God to do it. So you're striving to do it and asking God to give you the power.
It says that Jesus looked at the young man and loved him and said, "Do this." And the young man said, "But I've always done this." And the Lord says to him, "Well, sell all that you have and give it to the poor." It says the young man was sorrowful because he had a lot of possessions. So why didn't he just leave it at the end of the commandments? He added that part to it. And I think there's a reason for that. And the reason is that when we go through this process, it becomes very easy for us to start looking at ourselves and saying, "Wow, I'm pretty good. I didn't lie or cheat or steal today. I'm a pretty good person. I didn't, break the commandments in any particular way or shape or form. I'm a good person, and because of that, I deserve to go to heaven. It's my right, it's my reward to go to heaven." And those are our riches. Those are spiritual riches that we gather to ourselves. It's almost like a list of all the good things that we are. And the Lord wants us to remember that if we find good in ourselves, that good comes from Him. The desire, the willingness, and the ability to obey His commandments, to do that internal work and the external work, all comes from Him. And if we can recognize that that's always from Him, and that He is the one who is leading us to heaven, then we recognize as well that we don't have any intrinsic right to go to heaven. It's not a reward. It's what the Lord gives to us from Himself as we do the things that He has asked us to do. So there's a teaching in the heavenly doctrine that says that living the life that leads to heaven isn't as difficult as a lot of people say it is. It's a matter of obeying the Lord and doing what He teaches and recognizing that we do that from Him.
Heaven begins now, if you want it to. You get there by living for others without thought of recompense, spreading goodwill and giving credit to God, whatever you call Him. Heaven is open to anyone, but remember, the path there doesn't have much room for complacency. Of course, this is just our belief, so please, comment below and let us know what you think. If you'd like to learn more about our church, check out our website at newchurch.org. And if you're interested in talking with other people about spiritual topics like this, consider heading to grandhumanproject.org and joining a group that seems right for you. Thanks again for watching, and stay well.